Mayor Sisitsky does not recommend implementing a residential tax exemption, updates on the cleanup at the former General Chemical property, and a spotlight on the new Autism Welcoming Center at the Natick Mall. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick, and this is The Frame, Framingham News in Focus. Hi, and welcome to The Frame, an initiative of Access Framingham. We start with this past Tuesday night's City Council meeting, as Mayor Charlie Sisitsky said he would not be recommending the implementation of a residential tax exemption for the upcoming year. The topic was raised by the Council's Finance Subcommittee, although ultimately the Mayor's administration has to recommend the exemption before it's approved by the local legislative body. Essentially, the exemption would have shifted a portion of the residential tax burden away from the owners of moderately assessed homes, residential condos, and some multifamily properties. Conversely, owners of higher valued homes, secondary homes, vacant land, and apartment buildings, essentially those who do not primarily occupy units that they own, would have been taxed more. Sisitsky told the City Council on Tuesday that he believes the idea of a residential tax exemption is an, quote, unfair redistribution of the taxes.
It sounds good. It's called a residential property tax exemption, but it really doesn't do what people think it may be doing for means testing. There could be some people that are very wealthy or have a good income, but happen to live in a low-value home who would benefit from this by having some of their tax burden shifted to others who live in a higher value home, but not necessarily have the income to pay additional taxes.
Sisitsky did add that he and his administration would look into potential ways to change existing tax exemptions in order to provide relief to some residents of Framingham based on factors like age and military experience. Additional details on that tax story, as well as other stories that we've covered here on the program every week, can be found on our website, www.theframe.news. The latest source for local information has updates on municipal matters, full feature pieces we've completed across the community, and more, so check it out. Also, follow us on social media. @FrameNews_ is our home on both Instagram and X. Subscribe to Access Framingham's YouTube channel and get notified whenever a new Frame episode goes live by hitting the bell icon there. We're on Facebook too. Just search for The Frame. An advisory now that members of the public are invited to take part in a public hearing with the Framingham Planning Board next Thursday, October 17th, concerning the MBTA Communities Act. Now, we've covered the Communities Act situation for weeks now here on The Frame, but just to remind you, the city could fall out of compliance with the state law, which mandates that at least one multifamily housing district has to be zoned as of right within communities with MBTA service by the end of 2024. The Planning Board has already made some recommendations for zones across the city, including in the downtown area, in Knobscott, and in Saxonville, but the City Council ultimately has the authority to approve, reject, or amend aspects of the zoning plan. Residents are invited to share their thoughts on the current proposals for the MBTA Communities Act during the hearing, which will take place at the Memorial Building's Blummer Room at 7 p.m. that night. Meanwhile, updates on the ongoing process to clean up the former General Chemical site in Framingham have been provided by state officials. Multiple decades of use at the site, from being used for petroleum storage in the 1920s through General Chemical's departure from the property along Leland Street in 2012, has resulted in harmful contaminants being detected at the facility and the surrounding area to be completely abandoned. Now, the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has announced that more soil and groundwater work is set to be carried out this month, as crews work to determine the scale of the contamination at the site following the demolition of General Chemical's former warehouse last month. From there, Mass DEP will work to determine how to continue that cleanup effort. Framingham residents are invited to partake in a pair of events taking place early next week. The city's 4th annual Indigenous Peoples Day event will be held at Farm Pond Park along Dudley Road this upcoming Monday the 14th from noon to 3 p.m. Multiple local groups and organizations will be taking part in the ceremony alongside city officials. The event will move inside of the Barberry Elementary School gym in the event of rain. The next day, October 15th, families are invited to dress up in their Halloween costumes for the 5th annual Spooktacular at the Memorial Building. Music, activities, and candy will all be on hand from 4 to 6:30 p.m. that evening. The Spooktacular is taking place earlier this year due to the upcoming election, as Devons Hall will act as a polling place. And finally this week, our frame-by-frame segment. While the subject of the story is not based specifically in Framingham, rather at the nearby Natick Mall, the nonprofit organization Autism Alliance is based in the city and serves residents across the Metro West region. The group recently opened their Autism Welcoming Center at the mall. There, those on the spectrum, alongside their families and caregivers, can find a place of refuge, while local businesses and organizations can receive training to properly attend to people with autism. We took a visit to the center at the Natick Mall to learn more about this new resource.
Every day we have families coming in here. We have people that are walking the mall who have loved ones that have autism, that they come in and some of them share their stories with us. Some of them, we're able to give them more resources, and that's what we want to do. My passions have been trying to enrich the community that we live in and to empower families who have similar experiences to mine, and to support the families that are in need of resources and support that we offer at the Autism Alliance.
That full segment on the Autism Welcoming Center at the Natick Mall can be found on our website, www.theframe.news, as well as access Framingham's channel on YouTube. If you want to learn more about the center, visit autismwelcoming.org. That's all for this week's Framingham News in Focus. For everyone here at The Frame, thank you for tuning in. I'm Brendan Fitzpatrick. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.